Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Firsties. So I know I always say this, but I'm really, really excited for this episode. Reason why is because I have an old friend here, but before I even get into the guest, as I always say, thank you so much for supporting. Thank you for listening, liking, commenting, subscribing, all the fun stuff. Be sure to continue to do that. Send this to your friends, send this to your family, send this to your mom, send this to your dog, send this to anyone who will listen and watch. So sorry about that shameless plug. So today I have a very special guest. I have my good friend Matt, also known as J Matty. So Matt here is an upcoming artist in the DMV area, making hits after hits. I'll tell you later on what my favorite songs are. I'll be plugging him down below, so be sure to check out his Spotify. And just the other day, I was honored to be in his music video, Miss Barista, which will be coming out soon. I'm so excited to see the edit. So I first wanted to get into Matt, kind of like your first gen experience, wherever you wanna start, before even the music and everything, coming to this country, obviously being born not in this country, or were you actually?
I was born in the Philippines.
Yes.
Yeah. So let me give a little background on myself. So I'm Filipino. Both my parents are Filipino, and I was born 1994 in the Philippines.
Let them know.
Yeah, 1994. Turning 30 and feeling good,
right?
Feeling young. 30 is a new 20,
right?
I would say
for sure.
Yeah, and for me, I was kind of going back and forth between the U.S. and the Philippines. When I was 8 years old, we moved to Florida. My mom was doing her PhD at the University of Florida.
Shout out to moms.
Yeah, shout out to mom. That's the smartest person in the family.
Aww.
Yeah. So we lived 4 years there, and then moved back to the Philippines for a couple years, and then ended up moving here when I was in 8th grade.
Okay.
I was 14 years old, and ever since I've been here. So we've kind of had the blend of living in the Philippines and in the U.S. Yeah.
Okay, so talking about those kind of like two worlds and like dancing between those two worlds, what was that experience for you? Was it pretty seamless? Did you have a tough time with like your identity growing up? Just some context, we went to the same middle school. Did we go to the same elementary school? We went to the same middle school, yeah. Middle school and high school.
Yeah.
And he's a good friend of my brother's, and then we became friends as well. So that's kind of like the backstory there. So my memory of you, even in high school and middle school, was that everyone loved you. You were kind of like the cool kid. No one had an issue with you. And from outside looking in, it just looked like you kind of had it all figured out. And I'm sure that wasn't the case at all, especially being a first gen. So was it difficult trying to dance between the two, like American culture versus your Filipino culture, or what's your thoughts on that?
So for me, I would say when I moved to Florida for the first time, I was at an age where I was kind of just wandering aimlessly a little bit. So it's not until later on in my life that I realized that I was a little bit different from everybody else. Even just like, seeing my friends grow up in their own home. We lived in an apartment where there was 5 of us and 2 bedrooms.
So real.
For context, like I have 2 other brothers, so there's 3 boys in the family, and then my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
And looking back at it, like it was fun. But now as I got older, I'm like, hold up, we had like 1 bathroom for the whole household,
and you made it work.
And shout out to my mom again for sharing a bathroom with 4 other dudes. Like,
honestly, to camera, shout out to you, because 4 boys, essentially, sharing a bathroom. I only had to share a bathroom with 1 boy, and that was my brother, and that was enough.
And that's the crazy part. It's like
you made it work.
We made it work, and for me, that was normal. But then when I would go visit my friends in their homes,
talk about it.
You visit the homes and like, hold up, they have a lot of space.
Yeah,
they have a room each. Each sibling has 1 room. Talking about like, I want the biggest room, whatever.
Yeah,
but I was perfectly cool with sharing my room with 2 other brothers. And also, I just wanted to give a shout out to my family members just for being cool.
Yeah,
like for being able to tolerate each other in a way where we were functional, and in comparison to other families, our dynamic was, I'm blessed to have a dynamic where it worked out.
Yeah. I'm really finding every episode, including me and the guests, it's like a love letter to our parents to like be able to sit down and talk about like the real sacrifice and the one decision that they made to bring us to this country. Like you wouldn't be J Matty doing what you want to do if they didn't make that one decision and the sacrifice. And I don't even think we could actually really understand the sacrifice that they had. That really is a good point. It takes me back to like same thing, like apartment, multiple family members, just figuring it out coming. But looking back on it, I'm very blessed with the family that I have, but looking back, I would do anything to go back to that because now everyone has their own lives. You know, I'm really close to my brother. Now he's in Denver doing his own thing. I don't see him as much as I wanted to, where there was a moment where, you know, his bed is right next to me. You know what I mean? And that was like a really good, unique, special time. So I wouldn't change it for the world for sure. But looking back, I'm like, damn, you just took me back to like where it all started, which was one apartment in Alexandria, Virginia, and us like trying to figure it out. Damn, you just took me all the way back. That's like for all first gens experiences. Like we all have that experience. Now we've come up.
Yeah.
And like God willing and everything, like we've been blessed, but starting it was not what it looked like.
Not at all. And also just like coming into a different country, when I was younger, I definitely was pronouncing certain words wrong. And I still do to this day. Like I look back and sometimes I felt a little, I felt bad that they were correcting me when I was younger. I didn't think too much of it until later on when I was like, dang, like I had to not really learn the language, I would say, because in the Philippines, we went to a school where they would teach classes in English. So grammatically, we were good.
Right, okay.
It was just pronouncing certain things. And sometimes instead of saying, like, I'm sweating or whatever, I'd be like, I'm perspiring. Yeah. Like that type of thing. Like, and you're just different from the other kids, and kids would look at you culture. Funny.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I would feel like I was different. It would hurt sometimes, but in the long run, I would say it helped me have thicker skin. Yeah. But
we've even, like, how old are you now? You said 30?
Turning 30 next month. Yeah.
Next month, yeah. Oh, early birthday. Okay. And I'm 27, and what that happened, over a decade ago, but you still remember when someone pointed out as a first gen when you were different, like when you were an other.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't mean to, because kids, they're just kids, but you do remember like when you pronounced a name wrong or you brought a certain like food from your culture to school and that wasn't the coolest thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like having those experiences. But then now that we're adults, I don't know, my experience has been like, I'm lucky to have a culture and a family that's really big in faith and food. And there's like, you come from a big family. I come from a big family. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't change it for the world. But when you're 13, 14, like all you care about is like kikiing with your friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and your sports and whatever, like that's the same shared experience you had with my brother. Like you guys would all just hang out and you guys were all different cultures, but all you guys want to do is like hang out and play video games and play football and do the sports and run track and like all that stuff. Yeah.
And to point out too, I think being in the DMV made it an easier move for me in my teenage years coming from the Philippines, just because there's a lot of diversity here.
For sure, it's a melting pot.
Comparison to other areas. And it made it easier to make friends because there were a lot of mutual things that we had, mutual like cultural backgrounds. Even though it was different, there were a lot of similarities.
Even though it was different, it was the same. Yeah. Which is so exciting. With this podcast, I don't want it to be centered just around like the Ethiopian culture or like experience, because even though we're different cultures, it's actually really the same as far as like I just unspoken rule. Like I know you would take care of my mom if she was out somewhere and vice versa, because that's just what you do in our cultures. You know what I mean? You'd be sure to like say hi to her and like greet her, make sure she's taken care of, like whatever. And it's vice versa, because just family takes care of family. That's just like what it is. You know what I mean? Or like when you've come over to my house, you made sure to say hi to my parents because it's their home. And you're just, you know what I mean? You're just not going to walk up to someone's house, and then vice versa. Like it's just these little things that we just know how to like behave and like what is special in like our unique cultures. It's really, really cool. Okay. So now you're so you went to college, so you are a recording artist right now. So I actually want to backtrack. But even before then, you're also a registered nurse.
Yes, that's correct.
Right. And that's very common in our cultures to do medicine. But then now you're a recording artist, which is like completely different, right? So first of all, what made you get into nursing? Specifically, even being like a male nurse is that's not as common as doing something else. So what made you get into nursing? Was it like that was common in your culture, your family?
So I want to point out too that my dad is a registered nurse as well.
Yeah.
And he's a musician as well too. But I would say, shout out to dad.
Yeah.
Man.
Shout out to our parents.
Yeah, shout out to the parents.
Yeah.
But in the Philippines, if you notice, if you go to a hospital, there's a high probability that there's Filipino nurses in the hospital.
Got it.
It's a lot of Filipinos migrated into this country because of that occupation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Got you. Okay.
And so growing up, my dreams were to be like a pro athlete or like a singer or an entertainer of some sort. But when, as I got older, we got to thinking like, all right, how am I going to make some money? How am I going to make a living for myself? Mm-hmm. And for me, I was good with science. I was good with people. And so I realized that, okay, we got nursing. It's working for a lot of people in my family, in my culture. And I was like, why not go for something that I could be good at as well? Mm-hmm. And so seeing my dad do it, my aunts, uncles do it, it was a no-brainer for me to go for nursing.
You had the blueprint is what I say. Mm-hmm. So you're like, oh, I could go down this route.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you are a nurse, but then I want to ask, and I don't want to assume that a couple years ago, you had a moment in your life that was like life-threatening.
Yes.
And of course, we even spoke off camera of like what you're comfortable sharing. But if you're comfortable sharing exactly what happened, because there was I'm not the closest person to you, so I never want to assume that. But from me looking out, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you're a different person before what happened to you versus after. And it seems like that situation that happened, which we'll talk about in a second, if you're comfortable, might have been a contributor to you deciding to do music and kind of like really go after your dreams. So whatever you feel comfortable sharing, I'll cut whatever you want to cut. It's up to you.
I'm pretty open about that subject. So I was 23 years old. I was in nursing school. I was doing the accelerated program at VCU.
Which, by the way, is no joke. I just want to point that out.
Yeah,
it's grueling. Yeah,
it's a fast-paced program, and it's nonstop. 18 months. You had to have a degree prior to getting into the program.
Yep.
And I was probably 2 semesters in. I was 23, and I went out with a couple friends the night before this incident, and early morning we decided to go straight to JMU, my other college. And I had fallen asleep, and I overcorrected, and I hit a tree. So I was driving, hit a tree. My stomach went through my diaphragm, fractured ribs, and luckily I don't have any recollection of the impact or anything like that.
Yeah.
Bits and pieces here and there, but I was rushing to the hospital. The car definitely, it looked like I shouldn't have survived a thing.
Yeah.
Like that. And it just changed my mindset on everything. I was the same person, but a lot of things in terms of my mindset and the way I looked at life changed.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I remember hearing about that because correct me if I'm wrong, but you were going to JMU for like a game or something, and it was all the guys, including my brother was like waiting on you.
Yeah, college game day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to go for college game day. And never made it there.
Yeah.
I was going to my brother's house and never made it there.
Yeah. And then the recovery was grueling, right?
So that's another part where it's a miracle for me, which is why I'm big on health and fitness as well, is because fortunately at that time I was into lifting,
which probably contributed
to so I was at that time I was at my peak in terms of like my physique and my strength, and that made the recovery shorter than it should have been.
Really? Okay.
So I was in the ICU for a couple of days, and then I was actually out of the hospital in 3 days, which is a miracle, given like they opened me up. I had like staples on my abdomen and everything, and I was able to get back to school in 2 weeks. I was back in nursing school in 2 weeks, still got like staples on my stomach. And
that's insane.
Yeah, because I had that drive and that knowledge too, that like the more active you are when you're in the hospital, the likelihood of you recovering faster is better. And that's because I had nursing school knowledge as well.
Yeah.
And then I was just so grateful to be alive that I was like, yeah, let's push myself to the max.
Yeah, and you said that drive like it's just like something that people have. I have to say that you're just a specific, special person to be able to go through that and then get back to school, which is already like a grueling process. After 2 weeks, like that does not happen to the average person. And not saying those people who do, like, it's understanding if you are like, can't do it, I'm just going to really, really take my time and focus on recovery, because it was a very, very serious injury. Like you mentioned, you're lucky to be alive, but I just don't want to speed past that, because that's like, that just does not happen. And it I don't know, sometimes I think about like all the experiences that we experience lead us up to this one particular moment. It could be like when you're at the Grammys performing in a couple of years or what have you, but up until what you've experienced, like, not that you were destined to go through that, because obviously that's very like heartbreaking. I never want anyone to go through that, but you had even though you might have not known it, you were equipped to handle that situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want to speed past that. That's like amazing, because if you really, really knew his injuries, which we don't have to get into at all, it's a really tough recovery. You know what I mean? And it was touch and go at some points too. So, and also just shout out to your family and everyone who's there.
Yeah, I just want to point out too, like I'm blessed to have a great support system to where some of the stressors were alleviated. You know, like some people pull up to the hospital with no support from their family or friends.
Yeah.
And when you feel like, one, you're already thinking about a hospital bill, or like, and you're already hurt. And when it comes to recovering, like, you gotta decrease the stress as much as possible, be able to focus on your recovery. Because
the mind has a lot to do with it too. Yeah.
And but I say this all the time about the accident. People think I'm weird for it, but I like to say that that's probably the best thing that's happened to me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's I would not be the same person. I would not be J Matty if that accident didn't happen.
Wow, that's a statement. Yeah, wow. Because when I looking at it from the outside in, because we're friends, but I wasn't the closest person to you. I was like, you, even from your social media and everything, you're a completely different person because of this one thing that happened. And I'm a big fan of people taking like their downfalls or their trauma and making it into wins or dubs. So like, congrats to you for surviving that one. Cause some people, they just like, they give up, and part of your recovery probably had to do with the fact that you believe that, no, I'm going to walk again. I'm going to get back to me. You know what I mean? So I commend you on that, because it's just not an easy task. I want everyone to know that. And I hope you're hearing him say this and inspires you, whatever, like, position that you're in or anything like that, that even just believing that you can is sometimes enough to get you through it. So thank you for sharing that. We are going to take a quick break, and we will be back after these short messages. All right, guys. So that was a shameless plug, but also we will get into your music and everything. But you have a show coming up December 29th.
Yes, December 29th.
One of his many shows. I've been to multiple, and they're amazing. Always in the front row, just like annoying him. Like, just touch my hand, please, Matt. Just touch my hand. Like, such a groovy vibe. It's ridiculous. So you are, like we discussed, from that moment in your life that kind of changed kind of everything. You then decided, like, can you recall, because I know you were back into your fitness as well, which helped with your recovery. Mm-hmm. When did you were like, because you could always sing. You sang in like your middle school talent show with my brother and their friends, right? Which you were carrying that show, by the way.
Hey man, we had a solid squad. It was good. Hey, shout out to your brother Nahom.
Yeah. Oh, you're so sweet.
He pulled through. We sang "So Sick" by Neil. I'll never forget it.
I will never forget it because I was like, "Is that Nahom?" I'm joking. I love you, Josie. Okay. So when were you like, okay, I could do this music thing? Because I know we've talked about it even off camera, where you just have the talent for, but you weren't necessarily like had the proper training as far as, singing goes or anything like that. You kind of just start figuring it out as you go. So when did you decide like, oh, I could do this music thing?
Yeah, so I always thought I wanted to be like a pop star or like a rock star.
And you had them in the back of your head, right? Like always. Yeah.
When I was younger, when I was 2-3 years old, my dad was in a band. He would pull me up to the stage and I would get the exposure of being in front of a crowd. And
you loved it since then.
Yeah, I loved it since then. The positive reinforcement too of like singing for your family and they're like, whoa, this kid is actually pretty good at it.
Yeah.
I'd be singing in front of the TV, singing in NSYNC and stuff. Like,
not NSYNC.
I want to be one of them. Like, that's big in the Philippine culture, just pop culture.
Right.
And so I did YouTube in high school, thought I was going to pop off YouTube, but I didn't have the right formula at that time, the right work ethic or the planning to really push that. And so I had to be a little realistic, went to the nursing school route.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, I kind of forgot about the music. It was something that I did as a hobby, and I got better over time because I was doing it a lot, but I wasn't pursuing it professionally. Okay. And so right after this accident, it wasn't even right away that I wanted to decide that I wanted to be a music artist. I jumped into the social media game, but this time with health and fitness because that's what saved my life. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to grow my social media platform with J Matty Fitness, and COVID hit and the gyms closed. And then I was like, oh no, I can't make any content right now.
Yeah,
like, this kind of switched up my whole thing.
Yeah.
And so fast forward to COVID, my current roommate and producer, Leif, opened up a business. Yeah, he opened up a business and he was able to just turn that thing up. And when I found out about that,
oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah, so him and my brother were roommates in college. They were in Exit 245 at JMU. And my brother told me, yeah, Leif opened up a studio. And so, okay, we got somebody that can record music. And I know he's fire because I've seen what he's capable of. Mm-hmm. And I started making TikToks. And I was like, I have the knowledge of growing social media platforms. And so I can, whatever I learned from that fitness phase of my life, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I was able to translate it to my music. So I decided, okay, let's go. Let's start making music. Let's start recording music and let's start promoting it just like how I did in my fitness. And ever since then, it was November 16th, 2021. I know the date. The first TikTok post I made, I was like, we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop. This is the day that we're going to declare that we're going to be a recording artist.
And you're artists.
Yeah, and we're still here, so.
And if you saw the journey now and where you guys are going to go, it's like, you're just crazy talented. It's like insane how talented you guys are. Well, I didn't know that story about I knew Leif and your brother were roommates, but I didn't know that he started a business. And then you were like, oh, let me link up. I didn't know the details of that. Wow. Yeah. I actually, something I wanted to tell you was, always in the back of my mind, because, you were friends with my brother, but the time that, your guys' mutual friend passed away in high school, I don't know if you remember, but you sang Sunday Morning by Maroon 5 in their house. And I don't know, I just think in that moment, it helped that whole family out. I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I think in that moment it helped that family out. And I was like, that's such a special gift to have of bringing some type of light to that darkness in that house for that moment. You know what I mean? And how you're able to touch people with your, with your music and your voice. Yeah, I wanted to tell you that actually off camera, but I thought it was appropriate to do it now.
I remember that.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I still have a video on my old Mac, and I saved it because it was just on a piano, I think, and it was just acoustic, and you just started singing, and his parents were there and stuff, and I don't know. In that moment, I was just trying to champion my friend because I didn't know that particular person who passed away, but it was like your guys' friend who passed away. So I just wanted to like be there for you guys. And I just remember you singing, and I was like, man, even for that brief moment, it was just like a beautiful thing to do for people who are like in pain. Yeah. So imagine that you're going to continuously do that for like so many people.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most fulfilling things about what I do now is I get countless messages of people, just strangers that message me and say that I've helped them get through hard times in their lives, whether it's a breakup or their depression. And sometimes you make these songs and it's, you know, you don't really think of how much of an impact it can make. Because for me, I make my music for the people, but I make it for myself as well. And when people perceive your art or they take away something bigger than just entertainment from it, that's when it becomes really special. And I feel like I have a bigger responsibility now that I've dropped so many songs and these people are supporting me. And yeah, it's a beautiful feeling. You could be a nurse and help people out, right? Yeah. Like physically, but with music too, there's another way to help others out with your art. And it's a beautiful way to help people heal.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like, like, you know, I'm an audience member, so you're not experiencing the way that I'm experiencing it, but just like people are coming out to your shows to hear, spending their hard-earned money to see you, and I know you take that as a big responsibility, so you want the show to be perfect and you want everything. And I know you personally, so I know it's more than just like being this hotshot guy who has a great voice and you're just trying to like kiki, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's more than that. Like, yeah, that's fun too, but there's a purpose behind it, which is why I know you're going to be successful, because I think a lot of times, and I hope anybody's listening, like whatever you're trying to get into, if you're trying to get into it, being the first to do it, if you're trying to get into it to get a bag or to get attention or whatever, you might not be successful. You really have to have like passion and genuine like interest in it in order for it to be successful. So I commend you in like taking some pain in your life and making it into something beautiful, but then also that thing that you're making beautiful is also helping other people out who also might be in pain. You know what I mean? And you have an interesting perspective because you also have been through some stuff. So you're able to help people out. I mean, yeah. I mean, if I could sing, it would be a problem for you guys. The game would be over. So I think God knew what he was doing. Trying to sing. Because, man, I wish I could sing. Oh, it would be so much fun. So lastly, what I want to talk to you about is what are your goals and kind of like where do you want to take from now? I know we talked about you have a show coming up December 29th, which you're geared up for. And I hope you guys know, guys, Matt like eats, breathes, and sleeps music. And you could talk a little bit about that, but like that's all you do all day, every day, essentially.
Basically, yeah, and that's all I think about every single day. The moment I wake up, before I sleep, and everything that I do revolves around how am I going to take my music to the next level, my artistry to the next level. And for me, my goals really is to take this thing as far as possible. Mm-hmm. And we're doing it in an independent artist approach.
Good point to talk about, yeah.
We've had our run-ins with music industry people. They promise you certain things, and they want to say they're able to deliver, but they're not going to do anything until you're able to prove that you're able to do things by yourself. But at that point, you don't invest in me now, it's too late. We're going to do it ourselves, and if we're already there, it's going to be too late. And my goal is to compete with these major labels. Gotcha. Be able to chart, be able to make our own shows, sell out stadiums as independent artists. And I'm not saying I don't want to work with any labels or anything like that, but if we're going to work with labels, it has to be done the right way.
And on your terms, yeah.
Yeah, on our terms. And we value family. We value our own values and ideals. And it's not just the money game for us. We want to do it in a way where we can take this as far as possible, but we want to do it where we're preserving our values as well.
Yeah, which is crazy because essentially that's another reason why I was like, oh my God, Matt, you have to come on the show, because that's essentially what Firsties is. Like, you're the first in your family to really, I mean, no, you spoke about your dad, but at least in this country and going this far, as well as the genre that you're doing as well, you're the firstie to be able to do it. And I do think the playground experiences that you had growing up in this country is honestly going to help you in these rooms that you have to like kind of maneuver through, you know what I mean? And And so I commend you for being like kind of the first to do it, because it's kind of on the job training. Like you're figuring it out as you go. You're going to make mistakes like we all do, but learning from it, growing from it. But it's sick that as you're doing it, you're impacting so many people's lives. Like I see the comments, I see the engagement. You mentioned people privately DM you too, publicly, message you too. It's just really cool to see someone I've known for a little while kind of get all the love and the support and the screams. Like it's really, really cool to see. You know what I mean? I would imagine it. I can only imagine what your parents are thinking when they see, you really doing it. Like the show that's coming up, you mentioned how many people are signed up or have bought tickets.
So we're anticipating anywhere from 200 to 400 people.
That's insane.
It's going to be at Union Stage, and
Yes.
that's one of the biggest, venues
Yeah.
out here in this area.
So exciting.
Yeah, and it's like last night we had a meeting as a team, the
Yep.
Wrizzards. That's a independent collective that I'm in, and
Yep.
we act as an independent label to help elevate each other's artistry. We're having a meeting yesterday, and got pretty emotional. I just thought about all the people that are flying out from the West Coast, whether it's from Cali, Arizona, Colorado, and
you guys.
to see us. And I paused a little bit, and I was like, that is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. You're already living the dream that you wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be bigger and better later, but you're already living that dream,
Yeah.
you know?
Because here's the thing, too. Like, when you're trying to do something big,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but the people that you grow up with, right? Your friends
I
and
think
acquaintances.
I know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
Yeah, your friends and acquaintances, you think they'd be the first ones to hop on and
Talk
cheer you
about
on.
it.
But it's not like that.
It's
not
not
like
what
that.
you think it's going to look
No,
like.
and at first I used to be bitter about it. Like, I've known you for so long. I haven't seen you pull up to a show, or I haven't seen you share a post or whatever, which is I mean, you should.
Yeah.
But no hard feelings.
Yeah.
Like, I understand people are going through things. Like I have my own stuff.
Yeah.
I'm busy. I understand people have adulting to do and
Right.
bills to pay and stressors. But where I was going with this was, it's crazy that the people that don't know you or have never seen you in person are your biggest supporters.
Your biggest
supporters. Yeah, and I pour in, I go on TikTok every single night to go on my live streams, and it's the same few people that are there every single night, whether they're just liking, sharing the lives, donating, whatever it is. It's just, I want to pour my energy to those people because they are the reason why I'm still here and being able to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So shout out to all the strangers that support. That's just support.
That is such that could be a whole other episode, because that's the same thing with starting my podcast, is that it's no hard feelings, but what I imagined it to be is not what it is. Mm-hmm. It's even better, but the people that I thought were going to ride or die, almost, maybe not that's the right term, but just be like the number one supporters, are not. They share here and there, but the people who are DMing me, sending me topics to talk about, sending me guests, like, hey, you should get this, DM this person, this should be on the next person on the podcast, and then sending me direct quotes of the last podcast so they're watching it, is actually insane. Yeah. And yeah, no hard feelings, but it definitely looks differently. And part of it is because they don't understand, truly, no one's going to want this podcast to be successful more than me. Mm-hmm. Maybe my mom might be the only one. And same to you. And then vice versa. You know what I mean? Because it's essentially, you're the brand, you're the business. That you are the brand. You are the business. And you are eating, breathing music every day. People are going about their lives, and they go on TikTok and see you once in a while. You know what I mean? But that's a really good topic to talk about. And I think being a firstie and being a first gen is when our parents came here, the equivalence to liking a post or getting our engagement was people verbally telling them keep going. They didn't have that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just did it.
Yeah.
And so we are wired just to be hustlers, and we're self-motivating people. Just figure out and do it. And I know you work your ass off. All of your team members work their asses off. I saw it the other day. And I'm continuously seeing it on social media as well. So it's only a matter of time, just being consistent and keep doing it. Something that I actually want to ask you is, what I've experienced with just being a content creator is how much I have to check my ego. Uh-huh. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm posting something and I'm I think it should get this much likes or whatever, or this person should be sharing it. And then that's not the case. So it almost challenges me to be a better person. Girl, calm down. You're you know what I mean? And just continuously like be disciplined as well. Because I know for you as well, sometimes it's tough when you're doing all the things and you barely see growth, even though it's still growth, but it's just not what you anticipated, and still going back to the lab, back to the studio, and keep like, that's a grind.
It's a grind, and sometimes it's just like, as a content creator, being an independent artist, we do it all. It's not just the music. We edit our videos, we record our own stuff, and
all of it. The Instagram reels that you see, TikToks, all of it is all.
And that's not just me. That's a lot of people out here trying to do this independently, and I think it's just a matter of understanding that the consumers don't lie sometimes, and it's like if the content is not getting engagement, maybe it's not the people, maybe it's my content.
Right.
So it's just trying out different things and seeing what works and finding the people, finding your right audience. I would say that is the biggest key. And for me, I stopped wasting time on trying to win people. It's more of just like whoever's vibing with me, whoever's riding with my stuff, those are the people that I will spend my energy on. I'm no longer trying to, I'm no longer, like, for example, I used to be hesitant on posting certain things because I would think that I would be judged by my peers. But why am I concerned about being judged by the people that aren't even supporting me? So it's like, I just focus my time and energy on the people that want to see me win. And that's it. We'll win together. That's it.
That's how I always have to remind that. I think Tiffany Haddish said she had some interesting feedback with Cat Williams. And he said something about like, she's not the funniest comedian. And she said, my job is to make the people who buy my tickets laugh, not the entire world. That would be great. Yeah. And so for you, your role, my role is my viewers. That's who I'm giving this valuable content for. If you want to join in, you can. But you're absolutely right. I had to learn it the hard way as well, because I'm on a platform now and talking about some things that maybe some family members are not going to be happy with. I hope they know my intention, but they're not going to be happy with. And just being okay with like, I know my heart, I know my intention, and that's good enough. You know what I mean? Yeah. And for you, I mean, even if it's just two people in the crowd, you're impacting those two people. I mean, I know you and I know your heart. Even if you impact one person, you're like, I did my job. But with J Matty, with his talent, I think you're going to do quite a bit more.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back. We're going to end with Firsties Corner. We'll be right back. Hey guys, we interrupt this episode for some very exciting news. We have the Wrizzards coming out December 29th at Union Stage. You're going to want to come out. This will be where we will have the phenomenal guests of the Wrizzards coming out. You're not going to want to miss this. Tickets are only $15. Doors open at 6:30. Show is at 7. General admissions is only $15. You'll be able to get tickets available now at unionstage.com. Again, you don't want to miss this December 29th, the Wrizzards Union Stage, DC. Let's get back to the episode. All right, guys, we are back. So to end the episode, we have Firsties Corner, which is I go on our social media. You can follow us on firstiespod. That's firstiespod. On Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, all of it. We're on. That's where we are. Or you could email us at firstiespod@gmail.com if you want to submit any questions. So I'm going to look here I just put on our story. So I just want to quickly see. We're going to answer one question here. Let me just pull it up. Okay. So the question here is, as a first gen, what advice can you give for someone who does want to start in a creative space? That's the question. So I'm guessing it's either in music or YouTube or anything. So what advice would you give anyone who's a first gen trying to do something creatively? Because, sometimes in our culture, that's not always like encouraged.
I would say don't be afraid to be who you are. Like, I feel like once you start judging yourself for who you are, that's when you start to slow down in terms of creating. I would say be confident about who you are and really find out what you love, and don't let anybody take that away from you. And I think once you figure out what you're really passionate about, you're going to be able to find a way to push through, whether it's against your family's opinions or like your doubters. As long as you're doing it for yourself, you're going to be happier and you're going to be able to find a way to be better at that thing.
Yeah. But that only starts after you accept who you truly are.
Yeah.
Because I could say I definitely fell into like trying to be someone else. And I was so unhappy. It was crazy. I was so unhappy. I remember just like backstory, Nahum took me out to Cava when he was in town. And he knows me more than anyone else. And he literally just said, I just want you to be happy. And I just like boohoo cried. Cause I thought I was fooling everyone else. I was just fooling myself. They're like, no, I'm happy, whatever. Yeah. He's like, I just want you to be happy, like whatever that is, like just figure it out. And it's because I was trying to be someone else for so long. And it's just so interesting because we all want to be what we think, kind of like what you're talking about with the post, like, oh, if I post this, I'm going to be perceived that way. But you don't know that. You're perceiving a perception. You know what I mean? And so you're so right. Like it really does start. It's so cliche, but it really does start with like just being yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you're on stage, that's you up there, which is so beautiful and like awesome because not everybody can be up on stage because then you're like, there's judgment. Maybe they're misunderstand me or like what have you. And I think part of the reason why we don't want to be ourselves is because if we get judged, we allow ourselves exposure to like pain or, you know what I mean, or being misunderstood or whatever. So that's really, really good. So it does start with just accepting yourself, guys. It's so corny, but like that's really it. Like
sometimes the cliche things are cliche for a reason.
And
time again, it's been working. And
that's so true. That's so true. And on that note, guys, that is the end of this episode. Is there anything, I'm going to add your description below, but is there anything that you want to plug, J Matty?
Yeah, I just want to say, pull up to the show, Union Stage, December 29th. I want to give my group a shout out, the Wrizzards. We got Leif, Tina Carzon, Bema, Tadey, talented artists, the most talented people I know.
They'll be on the pod soon too.
Yeah, hardworking.
They're amazing.
Also, I just want to say I love you, Mom and Dad.
Oh, that's the best. I'm going to end with, I don't know if you noticed, but I end every episode with like, call your parents, like they're only here for a certain amount of time, answer their text messages, send them their flowers while they're here, say I love you, all those things. Even if they didn't do everything right, they at least gave birth to you and tried their damnness to make sure you were good. So yes, I love you, Mom and Dad. That was a great way to end this episode. As always, guys, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Commenting has really helping out the algorithm, so keep doing that. And follow J Matty everywhere. I'll put all of his description down below, including the link to purchase tickets for his show on December 29th. I will be there. The Firsties producing team will be there. My friends, all of our friends will be there. So come on out. It's a lot of fun. And his shows are getting bigger and better. And so he has he has his headliners, but then he has people opening the show, which I'm really excited to see because I haven't seen like the newer people join in. So I'm really excited. It's also just a great time to like meet people as well. It's a great networking opportunity. So please coming out December 29th. I will put all the description or everything you need to know below. And then, as always, thanks again for supporting. Again, call your parents. Love you, Mom and Dad. And we'll see you in our next video. Take care, guys.